Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I am your host, Ty Christensen, and he's a food stealer. We've got Jordan Christensen on the podcast.
Why do I have a beard? It's not a beard, it's shading.
And we have Cameron Mickle.
You made it all this way for a girl, huh? Do you ever hear of the term of a fool's errand?
And we have Jane Rosso.
Dear Amy, it's not looking good, and by it, I don't remember what I was talking about.
I love his little letters.
Today we are discussing Love and Monsters.
Well, and his artwork. Holy crap, dude. Those creatures' drawings were so dope.
Yeah, they are
But
awesome.
why was his first drawing so bad of the girl? I don't get it.
Oh my gosh.
I guess the years of learning.
Yeah, well, I like to think that he got better. See, it's a character arc.
Yeah.
He kept practicing.
Okay.
7 years of just drawing.
Yeah, she looked pretty haunting. It was like, it reminded me of Napoleon Dynamite. I took 3 hours shading your upper lip. Like, it reminded me of Napoleon Dynamite. Just an ugly drawing of his girl. I'd be like,
Well,
yeah, no.
I thought he was being silly, or was he actually being
I thought he was too.
Okay.
I think he was trying to play it off, but that picture, I think he was trying his darndest, but I think it turned out horribly.
Okay, see, I got like mad first date vibes, and apparently they're boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, because she said this is the best summer of my life, so...
I know.
So they dated for a summer.
Well, maybe longer.
I know, but I'm just saying they were giving off mad like first date awkward vibes when he was like drawing her.
I feel like that's just him.
Well, that's the kid. Yeah, he stutters all the time. He's
I
always
think that's
saying
just,
weird
yeah, his
things.
personality.
He's self-depreciating all the time, yeah. He reminds me way too much of Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon. Like, that's
yeah.
the vibe you get from him, yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's get into this movie. Love and Monsters. This movie came out in 2020, which is a really good 2020 release, I gotta say. You know, world's ending, world's population is down. I was like, this is a good movie to belong in 2020. But wow, what a shine in the dark, a light in the dark it was. I love this film. Directed by Michael Matthews. It was written by Brian Dunfield, sorry, I keep saying everyone's name wrong. Brian Duffield. There should be an N in there. That's so weird. Duffield. And Matthew Robinson. It stars Dylan O'Brien, which
Love of my
he's
life.
the guy, confirm it for me. He is in all the Percy Jackson films, right?
No.
Yes.
Isn't
No.
he? Yeah, he's
That's
Percy
Logan
Jackson.
Lerman.
What?
See, they are different actors. See, I always get them confused.
You're literally shattering my world.
Cameron,
right
look it
now.
up right
yeah,
now.
yeah, look it up, Karen. It's not. He's not. He's like in the
He's
Teen
Maze
Wolf. He was in
Runner.
Maze
Oh
Runner.
my
Yeah,
yeah.
Maze Runner.
He was in Maze Runner.
He's not
That's
in
the one I
Percy
always confuse him.
Jackson? Wow.
Yeah,
No,
I
not
always
at all.
think they're the same. They always seem the same, but they're not. But man, do they look similar? You want to talk about actors that look a lot alike?
I don't
swear
really
they
see
look
it.
so similar.
They're just
You don't
both
see it?
brunette. and white.
Just two white boys. They all look alike, you know. All white boys look alike.
Kinda true.
So, but just typecast that awkward teen, you know. That's just Percy Jackson coming of
Tom
age.
Holland can fit in there too.
Tom Holland could fit. Yeah, just kind of a young Jake Gyllenhaal. They all just kind of turn into the same person. Let's talk about this movie. What was it like watching this movie for the first time and then rewatching it for the podcast? I'll I've only seen this movie once, and it was on my radar because I watched a silly movie called Monster Hunter, which stars what's her face from
Uma
the
Thurman?
Resident Evil franchise.
Oh, no, not
and
Uma Thurman.
That movie is bonkers, and it's weird, and it's not that good, but it's like Resident Evil, and it's military.
Yeah, well, it's the same actress from Resident Evil.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like
And it's the same director, I think, of all the Resident Evils, right? Or he did Event Horizon. Yeah, he did do all the Resident Evils.
Yes. And you know, it's kind of the goofy monster movie that I was like, I could take it or leave it. It's dumb. I watched it while playing poker with friends, so that's the only way you can, you know, get that one down. It's hard going down, gets stuck in your gullet. But this one, Love and Monsters.
Well, it's kind of, it's like a way better version of like King Kong versus Godzilla or whatever.
Yeah, right. It is. Yeah, big monsters
This is
and
like
small people, like military.
what I wanted from
back
that.
to
Love and Monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I bring this up is because then I spotted this movie and it was on my radar because I watched Filmento, which is one of my favorite YouTube channels, where he just talks about anatomy of a failure and anatomy of a successful movie. And he just talks about the difference. And he actually talks about both the comparison between Monster Hunter and Love and Monsters. And he was absolutely right. So after I saw Monster Hunter, I was like, that's dumb. I'm just going to swear off monster movies forever. Filmento recommends Love and Monsters, so it was on my radar, and I put it in movies that I need to check out. And then I watched it with all my in-laws. I had my brothers-in-law. I'm like, I've heard really good things about this movie. I'm really excited.
Yeah,
so we
it
all
had
watched
great
it together.
reviews.
And it had great reviews, yeah. And so I was super excited. I got everyone on board to watch it. We all watched it together, and it was just a wonderful moving experience. So much fun to watch with my family. I just feel like this is a great film. So microwave that popcorn and sit back and enjoy this film. This is a great movie. So loved watching it. I've only seen it once, and I can't wait to watch it again with more people because I'll push it on all my friends and family to the end of time. What about you, Jordan? What was it like watching this movie for the first time, rewatching it for the podcast?
Well, so I had seen the reviews for it, and that's why I purchased it, and it was on sale. But
On sale?
On
sale?
on sale.
On sale.
But as soon as
you tard. You always say it wrong.
As soon as you as soon as you recommended it, Ty, I'm like, oh well, I finally have heard from like somebody that it was good. So besides just reviewers, because Army of the Dead had great reviews, and it is the most garbage movie I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, it's a C rating, I think, right? It's like 70%. So technically, if we're thinking in terms of like a grade, it's not the best.
It's just such a mediocre film. It's just
so forgettable.
Yes.
So forgettable.
And it's just like, and then when I saw this, I'm like, oh my gosh, great characters, like fun story, and cool monsters. Goodness gracious, it has the mix of everything. So it's like, it doesn't just rely so heavily on just the practical effects and the cool visuals, which is what I felt like Godzilla vs. Kong was. And so this one, loved it so much. So glad I watched it, and then I watched it again for the podcast today. And it was a treat. I'm very glad we're reviewing this movie because thanks for the recommendation, Ty. It was a great movie.
What can I say? It was this and the Mitchells versus the Machines. You guys were like, oh, it's your kids' movies. And I'm like, they're good. I'm just saying. I recommend good films on this podcast. What can I say? So, Cameron, how about you? What was it like watching it the first time or rewatching it for the podcast?
Good films like Color Out of Space.
And Mandy.
Get the fudge out of
and
here.
Mandy.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised watching this movie. I kind of went in with low expectations. I was kind of like, I'm not sure, like, what I'm going to get out of this. I like Dylan O'Brien, but I thought he was from Percy Jackson, so I was like, oh man, hopefully this isn't a Percy Jackson situation. But yeah,
You're like, hopefully you can get out of being typecast in all these monster films.
No, but I was pleasantly surprised. It was very enjoyable. Really great characters. He's just a super like relatable and I feel like fun character. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed like the experience. A couple things I didn't like about like near the end, but really solid.
You didn't like the girl, did you?
Can't wait to hear that.
I'll get into that in my nitpicks.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew that would tick you off.
That's so funny because, yeah, I'll be interested to hear your guys' thoughts about that. Jane, how about you? What was it like watching this movie for the first time and rewatching it for the podcast?
This was like one of the only movies that I saw in theater last year. And I already loved Dylan O'Brien, so I thought I was going to like it, and it still, like, blew my expectations. I just thought it was really good.
And he gets shirtless, so that's always a plus. My goodness.
That's high praise coming from you.
True.
Because you have high expectations for Dylan O'Brien.
Yeah, I do.
If he's going to be my boyfriend, he needs to step up.
Exactly.
I need to know my man can provide.
And rewatching it was just as good.
Awesome. Let's get into it. Two of our favorite things. Well, let's you start off, Jane. Why don't you start us off? Two of your favorite things from this film.
I love Boy. He's so cute.
Yes.
And such a good boy.
Coolest dog companion.
I love this scene when he's like saving him from the giant worm and he has to like hold his mouth closed. That was stressing me out so much, but it was just so good. And I'm glad that they didn't make the dog die. I was literally afraid the entire movie. I think I cried a little bit the first time because I thought he was going to die. Because they always do that in movies. So
there's a scene, very much like I Am Legend, spoiler alert. Yeah. There's that tension where you're like, they're going to set this up and have the dog. Yeah. Yep. I feared the same thing, Jane. Yeah, I had to look away. I was like, it's going to come. I'm not going to be ready for it.
Yeah.
And the dog lives. Yes. Spoiler alert. He fucking lives. Thank goodness. There's enough death in this movie already. So those were your two favorite things. Dylan O'Brien delivered and love Boy.
Yeah.
Awesome. How about you, Cameron? Two of your favorite things from this movie.
Jane already mentioned it, but it's so good. I want to mention it twice.
That Dylan O'Brien delivered, Cameron?
No.
Gonna make him one of your husbands? Nice.
Boy is so freaking amazing. He is the cutest little dog. I was just like, and I love how he just like had his own place and he was like so smart and like would close the door behind him. I'm like, dude, what a genius dog. What a baller. Yeah, it literally made me want to get a dog so bad. My second favorite thing is honestly, I loved like how they work in, because I genuinely like, I know it's in like adaptation, they talk about how it's one of the like the no-nos of film is doing like voiceover or like voiceover monologue.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it when they cleverly like cheat.
Yes.
And so like this movie like cleverly cheated by saying, oh, it's his letters to her, essentially almost like a journal for him. And I just love it because I feel like
absolutely
it just gives you a really good like look into where he's at, like, and so he's just kind of like, he's kind of expecting and like has these a little bit unrealistic like expectations, and I feel like I related to him a lot because I feel like sometimes I'll get like I'll be super optimistic and like have really positive expectations about a situation, especially in romance. And I'm like, oh, dude, this is gonna go so well. I'm going over there. This is gonna be perfect. And I love how he just gets over there and she's just like, oh, it's been 7 years and like I had another boy. And you're like, ah. I'm like, respect on my man for freaking going all that way. But then she fetches and he's just like, oh no. Until he magically becomes a monster slayer, and then she's like, oh, I want you back, baby. Boo! Get the fudge out of here, whore.
I knew that would drive you nuts.
So funny to hear you say
She
that.
only wants him for his body. She don't want you, Joe. She want my body.
He wasn't even shirtless in this movie.
Did he not get shirtless? I swear I saw him shirtless.
I
at
didn't
one
see
him
point, didn't he?
shirtless.
Right before he sees the poisonous berries.
That Ty was Googling him afterwards. He's like,
Yeah, Ty's like, oh,
Dylan O'Brien shirtless.
Yeah, I do not remember that Ty, but
Yeah, I don't remember that either, Ty.
Ty watched the extended edition.
Who was shirtless? Oh, wait, what? It was the food stealer, though. Wasn't he shirtless? He comes out shirtless, doesn't he?
Probably.
I don't know. That guy's an ultimate douche.
Yeah, the food stealer, right? The perfect Australian guy where he feels threatened by him. I love that scene, by the way. Doesn't he come out shirtless or something? He's like super cut or something.
I was just picturing all these guys without shirts on. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, what the fudge, Ty? You're sick.
Yeah, I was like, maybe I
Yep,
just
man.
fantasized about it. Yep, just closeted, man. It's crazy. Happily married with a wife, but I just see all the actors, shirtless, man. It's great. It's a good life. What can I say? 2 of your favorite things, Jordan.
Favorite things. Okay, so I'm huge. I mean, I always mention this for practical effects, but they have like, there's a scene where you actually see that giant, disgusting ant head like slowly move towards him and the slime's like dripping off onto him. Like, I just think that's so cool that they actually used like an actual ant head. Like, that was so cool. And then they kind of mesh in with all the animation, which is actually really well done. I'm surprised how much I liked how the monsters looked because I love monster movies, so I was like super excited to watch this. No, not excited, but I was once I saw what they looked like. Then I got excited because I was like, oh man, they actually did a really good job. And then I guess
Talk about that grenade toss, man. Kobe'd that in there. That was sick.
I felt like Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I love it. See, and that's why I love it. It's like very self-aware. He's like, I feel like Tom Cruise. Like he understands. Like that was insane.
yeah, and I was surprised how much I enjoyed like his character. I was just right off the back, I was like, oh, I'm like really into this. It's really fun. They gave him such a fun personality, and I just thought right off the back, and then they just kept going one after another. I'm like, oh, the jokes keep coming. I'm like, I'm surprised how much I'm enjoying this movie. So it was really good.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, Jordan. See, 2 of my favorite things is one is the genre bending. This is like a coming of age meets
Yes.
monster, which is why I really like the narration because it kind of feels like you're watching like something like Diary of a Wimpy Kid meets Breakfast Club meets any Ferris Bueller's Day
Percy
Off, right? Like,
Jackson,
or
Sea of
or I
Monsters.
mentioned, yeah, and I also mentioned How to Train Your Dragon too because also not Train Your Dragon 2 per se, but How to Train Your Dragon because
As
he reminds me
well.
a lot of Hiccup. Yeah, as well. How to Train Your Dragon also, because in the
Are
end,
you talking about the remake?
no, How to Train Your Dragon, the cartoon.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Hiccup.
You're-
He
I'm
reminds
thinking
me
of
a lot
Pete's
of
Dragon.
Special needs.
No, I'm thinking of Pete's Dragon.
George's like coming of age. Pete's Dragon. What?
A dragon. I swear I saw a dragon.
That's
Oh,
why I'm
gosh.
like, are you talking about the remake? I've never seen it.
No. No, not talking about Pete's Dragon. So this was such a good movie. I love the callbacks.
Sorry, that was a great impersonation of Pete.
Yeah, dude, you remember that, man?
Yeah.
I think the callbacks are really good. That's my second favorite thing. So, one, I love the genre bending where you take an element of movies that we're familiar with and you put it in a post-apocalyptic world, but still make it a coming-of-age movie, which is really hard to do, I think, tonally speaking, because how do you make 95% of the world's population wiped out and make it a coming-of-age story where you're still trying to discover yourself and find true love and find companionship in the end of the world? Really well done, because in the end, high school can probably feel like that when you're growing up. I'm not old enough to remember most of my high school experience where you feel like you're the only person on the planet and you find one person that you think understands you. So very fortunate that I knew my wife in high school and I happened to marry my high school sweetheart. So totally related way too much to this movie, but that's why I'm interested to hear what your nitpicks are about the ending, because I have some thoughts on it. But so I love the genre bending element. And then I love the callbacks. There's a lot of great callbacks in this movie, and we can get into all those later.
I love the relationships in this movie are awesome. Like the relationship he has with the two stragglers, they're so dope, and they like teach him everything.
Yes.
So I love how they turn him in from some pathetic guy into like
what's his name? Merle from The Walking Dead, or what's his character's name? What's his name?
Merle.
It's the same guy from what's it called from not Dawn of the Dead, Zombieland,
Guardians
right?
of the Galaxy.
Guardians
Yeah,
of the
he's
Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, blue mohawk dude with the arrow. Yeah.
Yeah, Yondu.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. I almost waited for him to say that, but he didn't. He's great in this movie, and his companion. I think they're super
And dude,
funny.
also, dude, his initial family from like the first like clan he was in, dude, I like almost cried at the part where he comes back. Dude, that was so sick. Where he like comes back to the family and then like they missed him and stuff like that. I was like, and how he like actually genuinely missed them and like realized like you don't realize what you like don't have or what you had until someone takes it away and you give it to them. Ty, right? Like the following.
Yeah, take what they had, or take it away from them. Show them what they had. Following Christopher Nolan. I love it.
But we get into nitpicks.
It's excellent. Yeah, or other things that you guys liked. So real quick, I just want to say before we get into nitpicks, I really like the callbacks. One of them was, I love the Mavis robot machine. It created one of the most tender moments of the movie.
Yeah, that part I almost cried too.
Yeah, it's really touching. So everything we know about Joel is he's a loner and he's all alone.
Felt like Jordan in this movie.
And he's terrified of monsters, which is so great because, again, one thing that monsters movies really struggle with me, like when I watch Godzilla, I still enjoyed it. I'm one of the few people like Grant that actually liked Godzilla movie. With Bryan Cranston, I know everyone has problems with it and everything, and I know there are those problems, but I still enjoyed it.
Garbage.
But in the end, my biggest gripe with all these monster movies is because, in the end, the protagonist hopefully would be their antagonist would be the monster, but in the end they're just not physically matched because when you have a giant-sized monster, it's not a good mashup because the human doesn't stand a chance because they could just be crushed or flicked with their finger and killed instantly, which is literally what happens in Godzilla. Like, doesn't Bryan Cranston literally die like by being flicked by his tail? Like, it's ridiculous. It's corny. Somehow they made the monsters like manageable enough where they're super big and terrifying and deadly, and yet believable that they could be taken out if armed and trained and skilled enough to take them down, like if they had a weakness or something like that. So I like that. And again, his biggest fear is overcoming his fear of monsters, which literally took his parents in the previous life, right? Before the apocalypse, his parents were killed by monsters. So he freezes every time. He's in shock every time he sees a monster. And he has this giant wall to overcome this fear and to eventually to go find someone and not be alone, to find a love connection, but he has to face an entire land.
And he finally breaks it. Why? Because of true love. For
Infested
frickin'
with
boy.
monsters.
Yeah.
True, in quotes.
Forget women, dude. You don't need women. You got a dog. Dog's more loyal than women.
So I love that. And again, like the Mavis scene. So in the end, he gets that really touching moment where he always wanted to see a Mavis working machine. Then he finds Mavis in this town. She's this robot that like tells him all these sweet, funny things. There's really funny, sweet, endearing moments, but it's really sweet when she's like, "What's your name? Where are you from?" And she's able to access all these photos that he hadn't seen for a long
Yeah, I
time
love
of his
that.
family. And he sees the picture of his mom, and,
Yeah,
and
it's-
she's like, she's really proud of you. It's just a very touching moment. Very sweet. And yeah, it nearly got me to tear up because it was just very emotional. I wasn't expecting it. And this movie subverts your expectations many times.
Kind of reminded me of that Black Mirror episode where like what's it called? The guy from About Time like is like reincarnated as a human being or whatever, and she uses all of his like past emails and stuff like that to respond how he would respond and to like help the wife get closure.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, isn't that Ex Machina? No, that's not Ex Machina. But Donald Gleason, the same actor, yeah. Very interesting. I think I like how you see everything through Black Mirror. Can't remember, you're like, like this reminds me of Black Mirror. It's like, except it's not messed up.
Well, it's because he's watching it recently, Ty.
No, I know. Yeah. He's watching it now. It just makes you laugh. It's like, it's not all that similar, but because you're watching it now, it's like definitely the thing that's on your mind. I love it. It's great. Did you guys have other things that you guys want to mention or nitpicks or something like that?
I kind of wish they made some of the monsters scarier, like maybe the crab or like the frog. I don't know. They just weren't. I feel like they could have looked scarier.
Oh, they funny you mentioned that.
They did kind of have a Pokemon feel to them where I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. The toad did, but the centipede was as scary as it needed
Yeah,
to
that
be.
one was really scary.
That was
freaked me
gross.
out. And the ant at the beginning was something out of Alien. Like
Yeah.
the way you see it through the shower curtain, it murders one of the people
Yes.
from his group. And then my favorite was the scene where sometimes it's not what you show. They have a great scene where it reminds me of Alien. They have like a monitor and you can see all their heat signatures and you see...
Yes, and it took one of the bodies.
oh yeah, and you see it getting dragged away.
You see one of them get swept away really quickly by the creature. The heat signature gets pulled through the pipe. it's so freaky because again, your mind is like envisioning them being like dragged away by this creature that's just so freaky. Very effective for me.
Yes.
And you're right. The frog one wasn't as menacing. It was kind of more comical and it kind of seemed silly, but it was a really sweet moment where he got to meet Boy and Boy got to like save his life. But it was kind of fun to see a wide variety of creatures because it wasn't just the insects. It was like other small frogs that you normally wouldn't be. But no, you're right though because
Dude, it totally subverted my expectations too. I was expecting like a girl to be living in that house with Boy. And I thought that's what they were going to team up there or whatever. But then it was just like, Boy was just living by himself. I'm like, dang.
As long as we're saying gripes about it, I only wish that the dog could have found his owner at the end. But then again, he's with Joel now.
I have a great idea for a second one.
Yeah, for a sequel, right? They totally have it set up for a sequel. They totally could easily. Love Monsters too.
So somehow they reunite with that girl, and then Dylan gets with her instead of the other girl.
Yes.
Hey, because they both love Boy.
Give Jane the money.
Jane, hey, all the proceeds go to Jane. Everybody. Yep. Co-written by Jane Rosso.
Jane Rosso. Yeah, that's okay.
I love it.
So my gripe, I kind of mentioned it earlier. Okay, first, the crab, like the whole, I'm not sure what they're trying to do, like animal rights or something, but it was like, you can tell they're not a killer by their eyes. And he's like, I love how he looks into his eyes. He's like, oh, he's so sweet. And he like drops him. And then he literally proceeds to go on that ship and murder those people. And we're like, I'm like, it's not a killer, but yeah, it just slaughtered those 4 guys who like.
Hey, but they were constantly electrocuting him, and slaving that poor crab. That crab just wants to live on his own.
I don't give a fudge. If it's not a killer, how's it going to process that? Oh, those are my guys. I'm like, okay.
No, but Cameron, to be fair, what I really liked about it is, remember in the whole series when he meets the cool, awesome, the 2 loners, the people that teach him how to become a monster hunter, they tell him, he goes, some of the monsters are friendly. Some of them don't actually want to harm you. And to be fair, I don't think that crab ever meant to harm anyone. The reason they were probably able to capture it is because it was friendly, but they literally enslave it and make it eat people to stay sustained for food because they travel beach to beach, take all of their resources and their food stealers, the worst kind of people. Every time Joel confronts a new group, they're like, were you a food stealer? Why did you leave? Were you a food stealer?
I love how they set it up so much.
Yeah, they keep saying it. He goes, why does everyone think I'm a food stealer? I'm not a food stealer. I'm not. I love that. That's so funny. At the very end, the guy that you're like, Joel is threatened by, like intimidated by because he thinks that his crush has things for him. He's like super buff. He's muscular. He's cool. He's got a plan. He's got a yacht. He's
got an accent.
Got an accent, ripped body. And then at the end, he's a food stealer himself. I just thought that was so wonderful. The callback and the idea that he's just the worst kind of person. A great bait and switch at the end there. But Cameron, I cut you off. What were you saying?
It kind of reminds me of Sykes. Or sometimes like Sean gets threatened by like this one guy who seems like to be totally swooning, Jules, and then ends up he's like a total thief and just a terrible human being. And you're like, okay,
yeah.
Nothing to be worried about.
Love it.
No, but the one thing
nothing to be worried about.
And the only thing that, it just bothered me that she, like, obviously I understood that she had somebody and, like, understandable, like, oh, I kind of moved on. Like, I mean, 7 years and it was kind of just like a high school fling. So totally understandable, especially after 7 years of only talking.
Yeah, but then why the fudge is she leading them on? That's just not what I don't understand. Thank you.
Okay.
And then she's like, and then also the thing that bothers me is like at the end she's like, oh, you kind of saved me. You're like pretty like good at killing monsters, so maybe someday we can get out together. I'm like, get the fudge out of my face, girl. Like, we don't need you anymore. Kidding me? He's got Boy.
Yeah, no, I think it's so funny that you guys say that because initially at first I actually knew right away when she nervously laughs when it's awkward. I was like, she's not in love with him anymore. I knew right then and there. I know that sounds weird.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, so you already called it then. So why were you upset?
Oh, no, I called it from the moment when he called her and he's like, I'm going to come see you. I'm like, she's not going to be into him. Because I've lived this. I've seen how this goes in real life. So that's why I do. I'm like, I've seen this.
Like, I need
escapism.
Can't the guy just get the girl once?
Yeah,
you're like, freaking A. It's like, it's way too much like reality.
I know. That's why I was like, oh, fine. That's why I was like unsatisfied. And that was like I'm like, what type of fantasy world is where it's like, it doesn't work out initially, but then later it works out. I'm like, that's not bull crap. If it doesn't work out in that moment, it's not going to work out.
Even in the apocalypse, still doesn't work.
Yeah. I'm like, and I love the line. He's like, you don't have to settle. I'm like, my man's settling just because she's such the only girl that he's like communicating associated with.
One thing to its credit, though, I enjoyed it, and it's not because like I'm glad they didn't get together. What I liked about it was the reason for it, because again, they had a relationship before all this went down, and they were completely different people, to her credit. Like, she was different. Like, did you see her? She's like a leader of this colony. She's caring for elderly people, you know, like a social worker. Like, and he's like...
How did they get a colony of old people together?
Yeah, that's the most unfortunate situation ever.
Yeah.
That would
Cameron,
just be accidentally
technically,
be like,
this sounds really dark and morbid, but you know, if a creature ever started to catch up, you could outrun all of the people.
That is true. And Ty, the longer
That's really smart.
the longer you last, like you'll probably have lots of resources because they're gonna die off eventually. So you'll be just chilling there with lots of resources.
Yep. Yeah. Eventually, they'll all die off. You know, you can use them for their gardening expertise.
Maybe I'm just gonna go to an old person's home at the end of the world and just be like, I'll protect you until you guys are gonna die.
They can sew you and knit you things. Yeah, I'm trying to be as ageist as possible. They could sew you clothes. They can knit you things. They can help you garden, and then they'll keel off in a few years, and you can reap all the benefits.
Yeah, and then when their hot granddaughter comes in,
until a frat boy yacht man comes and shows up and takes all your food and feeds you poisonous berries and tries to get you all killed. What a crazy twist that was. I love that scene where he sees the berries.
Yeah, that was so good.
That was a great bait and switch, because again, at that point, I'm like, I don't know how they're going to wrap this up, because the love story's not going to work out. I still love that they could have that fight scene where not only were they trying to fight this giant crab, but they had to fight this lady with the wrist rocket and the other guy. I thought that was super fun.
The only thing I did enjoy, like about like as frustrating as it was for that the love story sort of worked out randomly. Like I liked it how it was kind of his choice, where like he was walking away and he was kind of like, you know what, like I'm gonna send it. And so like the fact that he was the one that kind of forced it and it wasn't like completely her leading him on, like just kissing him, made me hate it less.
Yeah, no, for sure. And they even opened the window, and you're right where you're like, oh, I don't know. What I liked about it is, so let me give you a real life example. This is super...
So I was like, after that experience, that's a kiss-worthy experience. I respect that.
No, so let me be real here. So me and my wife, Maddie, my wife now, Maddie, we dated on and off in high school, and I went away for a 2-year mission, and my wife went away for 18 months. We didn't see each other for 3 years, like 3 full years. We get back, I'll tell you straight up, we were both completely different people, but thankfully we were better versions of each other, and that's why we ended up married together. So to be fair, in this movie, I like how they are different. Like, I know our sister Alex, she went on a mission and she went back and tried to date every single one of the guys that she knew before, and all of them were completely different. And she was different.
Because they were all losers.
For the better. Yeah, because she only dated losers. Sorry, Alex, for throwing you under the bus here, but yeah, you only dated losers.
Yeah, she only dated losers in high school. They were all freaking losers.
I still can't get over it that she had a boyfriend that made fun of me. Like, straight up made fun of me. Alex, you had the worst taste in men ever.
Yeah,
but you married a great husband.
And the only one that was actually good was that guy who was like from Houston, Texas. And then she's like, I don't know, it's something about him I don't like. And I'm like, the fact that he's a good human being.
He's nice.
Maybe?
He treats you like a lady.
He's not a cage fighter.
Oh, Alex, sorry. Hope you're not listening to this. We're just airing all your dirty laundry. Okay. So it's very real. So what I do like is that they open the window where they're different people now. She didn't know how she felt, but after they're like living in this new world, they're still really compatible, and I like that. So again, yeah, does it end where it subverts your expectations? But in the end, I actually liked it because it wasn't like I even thought it was believable. Where she's like, yeah, for 7 years they'd been apart, right? That's what it was, 7 years.
Yeah.
So it's like she literally had an entire another life, and then that person died, and now she's like, well, I just don't know if I can do this relationship thing, because you literally had someone that you love die, like from some insect or ungodly creature that came out and murdered them.
I know.
It's just a different world.
And the fact of you to escape too, because that's I was wondering, like, why the fudge would you ever have a chandelier in the apocalypse? That's the dumbest thing ever. And then I'm like, it's very emotionally attached.
So sad.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, which was so interesting. See, and that's what I really like about that, because remember what she mentions, she goes, you were my only connection to the old world. Because he was the only person from where was it, San Bernardino Valley or something like that?
Yeah. Ground
I can't remember,
zero.
but the valley where they grew up, California, yeah, the same area of California. Before all this went down, he was the only connection that she had to the old one, and I liked how he was pining for her so bad, because remember he had scanned all the different radio stations and tuned into all the different channels to try to find her. Remember, and he's like, yeah, what were the odds that I found her?
Found it on the first one.
Yeah, and there was like a list of hundreds of channels that he tried nonstop just to try to get in touch with her. So I liked it. He obsessed, and I liked it at the end that he grew as a person and changed, and she did too. And in the end, they still opened the window where it could be possible. So yeah, your criticisms are valid though, because it is upsetting. You're like, why can't they why did she seem to lead him on? Why is this not working out? It's kind of stressful.
I just don't believe anyone would turn down Dylan O'Brien. Too unrealistic. If it was anyone else,
now
possible.
Jane's spitting
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah. I will say, it's so funny that you say that, Jane. The reason I knew this was the Maze Runner kid because of his run. He runs like once or twice in this movie, like once away from the rock. It's the same run that he does in Maze Runner.
That's funny.
It's kind of like the action hero. He does a very intense run where it's almost frantic. And I'm like, he really pulls you in with his acting, with the run. I'm just saying, you could tell a lot about an actor by their running. Tom Cruise, which he totally mentions in
is
this
the
movie.
professional
And
runner.
the way,
He's the best runner of all time.
Contractually obligated to run in every single one of his films. He just wants to show off his sprint, and he's pretty good at sprinting. With this cute, stubby little 5'5" legs of his.
Even in Collateral, I was like, oh, they're not going to get him to run. And there's a scene where he's chasing Dave Fox.
Yeah,
I'm like,
so
there
run.
we go, baby, run, Tom.
There it is. There it is. So I love that. And then, but Dylan O'Brien's his run is iconic in my mind. Like, it's very frantic. When he did it in Maze Runner, I felt like I was part of the action, both the first and the second one.
I love him in those movies.
Yeah, he does it's very action star running. So anyway, it made me think of like, what are the other movie runs is that one? And then Jordan, do you remember the girl from Taken? That weird run that she does when she runs to Liam Neeson. I don't know why, she's got a weird run. Bless that actress's heart. For some reason, it's a really weird run. Other iconic movie runs, I can't think of any.
I like the run in The Sitter with Jonah Hill, and they just fast forward time because he can't run.
So sad. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm guessing a Forrest Gump. That's a run. I don't know too many movies that have
Classic
iconic
run.
running. But anyway, he's going places. You know what? If Dylan O'Brien keeps up with it, he might go places. He might have an out with his whole acting career. So he might go places. Any other nitpicks you guys wanted to throw out,
No, that's pretty much like the only thing.
or questions you had about the movie?
Just more
Yeah.
of boy. I didn't like the whole 18-minute segment without him.
Oh yeah, and when Dylan, I forgot his character's name. Joel, when he yells at Boy, that was so uncalled for. So sad for Boy, and then he ran away.
Oh my gosh, yeah. What the
Yes.
fudge?
Yeah, because of the dress. But again, it nearly got him
much
killed
deserved.
because the dog couldn't stand that the dress was getting wet in the water because it was going to lose its scent from his previous owner.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Very sad, very touching. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't think of that either.
The dress is drifting off in the water, and the dog had to go get it, and he was holding the dog while the centipede was like creepily, or it was either, I think it was the centipede or it was the mother queen.
Every dog owner ever
Bug, I
related
can't
to that
remember which
moment
one.
of trying to close his mouth when he's trying to be quiet.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in the monster hunting you position, but you're just like, let's just.
Okay, I do have one. Well, I don't know if it's a nitpick because the more I thought about this universe in general, it's like really unrealistic, obviously. But just the scene where she like fights the other chick at the very end, she's
Yeah.
like running at her with the shield and getting shotgun bullets shot at her, and she's
No,
like,
not just shotgun, and she's getting
Deflecting
freaking
him.
grenade launchers just launched at her, just totally fine. I'm like, oh my god.
Deflected.
and then
Yeah.
she's just like a ninja. I don't know. I just was like,
Jordan, a lot's
Hey
happened.
man, living in this world.
Was she fighting some old people to practice? Where did that come from?
yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, who taught her to fight like this?
She's defeated a lot of the. Hey, old people are the best. They're filled with wisdom.
Mr. Miyagi is just chilling in one of those beds, Ty. I mean, Jordan, come on.
Clearly.
Wax on, wax off.
Johnson. That's right. I love it.
You can deflect grenades.
Wax on, wax off. Thank you,
That's so great. I would say one funny thing was at the beginning, setting up this world where, okay, there's a meteorite heading to Earth, so what do? We nuke this asteroid, and then all the nuclear radiation falls down on the planet and radiates and mutates everything. Again, it's hard for me because it's like, okay, well, did all the humans die of radiation? Because if all the animals survived, is it just because they're genetically different from humans? Like, again, just some questions that I have because it's
They
like...
said cold-blooded, so it's not warm-blooded animals.
Are crabs cold-blooded?
Oh, is that right? I missed that. Is that what they say in the movie? So they're like insects, amphibians, reptiles.
Frogs? I think frogs are because they're reptiles.
Yeah, he says cold-blooded. That's why cats and dogs...
Well, I know frogs are cold-blooded, but does he say that specifically because of all the cold-blooded creatures?
Yeah.
They are the ones that get mutated and don't... Oh, okay. So again, like I said, there's some explanation for that, and that's why you see the motif of like amphibians, reptiles, insects, all that stuff. Makes
Dude,
sense.
I'm
but-
surprised they didn't whip out a snake. That was the only thing I said. Like,
Yeah,
you
they should have
could
done that.
included. Yeah.
Ooh,
Really
that
intense.
centipede was all I needed, though,
Oh,
with the
yeah, the
tentacles
centipede was
filling up
disgusting.
his smelling his face with the
Oh, stop! I'm getting the chills.
Like, you thought King Kong was bad. That scene with the that centipede that just got me, man. When it comes up out of the ground.
Oh no, but that King Kong is probably one of the most terrifying scenes of all time.
Slimy bug sucking on the guy's face.
Yeah.
Poor Andy Serkis, dude. Oh man.
Ew.
So, you guys want to say any movie quotes that you guys think of? Movie quotes from this movie?
I just like when he said that the good instincts are earned by making mistakes. I thought it was kind of a cool message. It's like you don't need to be perfect,
I like
but
that.
you'll learn it along the way.
You can always tell in their eyes, Cameron. Just look at their eyes.
I like when the guy said you either get a hot meal or sleep, not both. And Dylan was like, "Well, why didn't you tell me that? I didn't do either."
Yeah, and I love how that's
okay.
something that he
They
kind of
keep
struggled
clapping.
with too. He always looks like he's like so tired.
He's ready to fall asleep, and then they clap. Okay, time to go. Yeah, oh, it's so sad. I love it.
I like the part too when he says we lost a lot of people over the years. You think you would get numb to it after a certain point, you don't.
That was sad.
That's really cool. Yeah, and I
No,
love
that's
in
great.
the guy when he's like, there's no mission more admirable than love. He's like trying to hype up Dylan O'Brien when he's just like down really bad.
My favorite at the very end when you meet the two other monster hunters that trained Joel. They're standing at the mountains, and they went up there, and they don't seem to have found a colony, but it's just the two of them chilling.
Oh, it looks destroyed.
It looks destroyed, and they're like, so they obviously went up to the mountains, and they go, Joel says he's coming up here, and he goes, but he's never going to make it up through those mountains, so the snow spiders and everything. He goes, yeah.
No faith.
It's kind of a funny moment, but I was like, you know what? Like, I almost thought they were going to end the movie. My prediction was they were going to catch up one more time, or they were going to see each other, or say, he'll need our help, let's go help him out, right? That's what I got from it. But they honestly kind of alluded to that in the end, where they're like, he won't make it, and they were the ones that pulled him out of that creepy sand trap with all those creepy leeches or whatever those things were.
Oh my gosh, those things were insane.
They pulled him out initially and saved his life. Oh, I know, where they're all climbing all over him and stuff. And then, of course, there were actual leeches. There's another scene where he pulls off leeches from him. Then he gets poisoned. That was a hilarious scene. It reminded me of The Good Dinosaur.
So it's hallucinating.
And then he kissed. He thought he had like an
He
amazing
kisses?
kiss. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, and then he puts his fist in the air. He's like, yeah, I kissed her. And then at the end, she's like, yeah, about that. You kissed Crazy Dave or something.
Yeah.
It's like some other dude at the compound with a giant beard. That was so funny. He's like tripped up on the poison from the leeches, and then he barely eats the antivenom from the plant. He barely escapes death, but then he's like super loopy and out of it, and then he finds her. I just thought that was super funny. And then kisses some other guy. That was so funny. This is great bait and switch there. So do you guys recommend this
Yeah.
movie, Love and
Oh,
Monsters?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's honestly
Absolutely.
like it's kind of like a counter to Jane's like nitpick is like it isn't like very thrilling, but that's what almost makes it. It's honestly kind of like kid friendly.
Yeah, I showed
Like-
it to my little brother, Leo. He's 10. Because I was
Yeah.
like, it's not too scary for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, there's a few parts though.
I think if there was like a couple parts you could have like adjusted to make it more thrilling for like 18 plus, but it's still really solid.
I think with a title like Love and Monsters, it's not Monsters and Love. It's or Monster Love. It's the perfect blend. It had
Yeah.
moments of intensity and thrilling for me, and it still had
That's
an
true.
overall feel where I watched it with my 13-year-old brother-in-law, and he loved it. So
DC's through.
great film. Highly recommend it. Jane, we end every podcast by sharing movies that we've seen lately and movies that we're looking forward to seeing. Is there anything that you've seen lately?
I just saw A Quiet Place 2, and
Ooh.
I loved it. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
I def recommend. I like the second one better.
Really? See, now
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it. I'm very excited to see it. Do you like Cillian Murphy? He's great.
I love him, yeah.
And Emily Blunt's great too, obviously. And
Yeah,
what's his
Emily Blunt's
counterpart? I can't remember his name. The gentleman that was in what's it called? Guardians
Thor?
of the Galaxy. What's his name? No, the African American
who?
dude. What's his name? Yeah.
Star Lord, man. International thief.
Jane, seen anything else lately?
I watched Training Day. That's an old one, but that
Oh,
was really
so
good.
good.
So good.
You guys should cover that one.
King
Training
Kong, hey
Day.
God. Oh man.
And
That's a great
that's
movie.
pretty much all I've watched lately.
I'm lethal with this, Jason.
It's Jimon Honsu. Yeah, couldn't get that one right. Is his name Digimon? Jimon Honsu.
What are you looking forward to, Jane?
I think I said this last time, but still the Black Widow movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I know that's coming out soon.
Well, they got to put it back behind Loki. There's a lot of funny memes about that, where like every time they're just about to announce another movie, they keep swatting Black Widow
I
later
know,
and
it's
kicking
so
her down
annoying.
the pike. It's like, release the freaking
I've been
Black
waiting
Widow
for, like,
movie,
a
please.
year.
And she had such a significant part in Infinity War.
Yeah, and same thing with freaking James Bond. Oh my gosh, if they push that date one more time, I might hurt someone.
Or Batman, yeah, I swear. I'll hurt someone. I'll hurt myself. Dear executives.
This is a threat.
Yeah, I'm excited for Batman too.
Yeah.
I love Robert Pattinson.
Yes, I love
The
Robert.
executives got to make their money, Cameron. They're like, hey, come on, we got to make our money return here. Otherwise, we're going to be bankrupt. You saw what happened to Tenet, man. Not enough people went and saw
Yeah,
it.
but I don't know if it's just Utah, but there's like a revolution, dude. Like no one wears masks. I haven't worn a mask in like a month. It's ridiculous. It's amazing. It's like the Great Awakening over here.
Good job, Cameron. Stay
And
safe.
you were nearly killed by a nematode outside because they're all mutated now with COVID. Oh my gosh. Help. Well, thanks so much for coming on. We want to respect your time. You're welcome to bounce out anytime you want.
Or you're welcome to stay, Jane.
We're just going to end our podcast. Yeah, because we're
Bye,
just
guys.
going to go over movies.
Peace.
Later, Jane. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, bye.
Take care. Bye.
You know she was joking, right, Ty?
No, she's not.
Oh wow, Jane.
Later, Jane.
Wow,
Take care.
Jane.
Yeah, don't save her,
I
Cameron.
love you. I totally thought she was
It's okay.
joking. I'm actually.
No, Jordan. What movies have you seen lately? Movies you're looking forward to seeing?
Well, I rewatched like a lot of movies we did on the podcast with Tatiana. We watched Wrath of Man. I don't know how I convinced her to watch that. I was actually watching it because I thought Dad and Kelly would want to see it, but they both fell asleep, so it was just me and Tatiana watching it. And Tatiana said she really liked it, so I was surprised. So I'm corrupting her sweet little mind because she doesn't watch rated R movies and never has. So now I'm watching all these movies. And then let's see.
Just Photoshop a PG-13 label, and glue it to the back of the DVD.
I only
card.
did that to you once.
Equilibrium.
Never know.
Hey, what do you think of the movie, Ty? Oh, I thought it was really cool and really exciting. I like all the gunfight. You know it's rated R, right? What? The movie's rated R, you idiot.
Ty's face,
I'm like,
too.
oh,
You were like,
oh,
oh no, what have I
Oh
done?
my gosh. And then I grabbed out a whip and I started beating myself across the back. Started laughing myself. Bad time. Bad.
Flogging yourself.
Gollum over here.
And then Dobby.
I rewatched Mitchell's versus the Machines. I'm
a great
watching.
Behold the twilight of man.
Dude, she,
the pain only makes me stronger.
dude, Tatiana was laughing so hard. Oh my
To
gosh.
dust. Or what does he say? It's like, to darkness I return.
Yes. Dude, Dad was
Furbies are
laughing
so
so
funny.
hard at those Furby things. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
it's so funny. Yeah, the Furbies are great.
And then, because I went to visit them, so we watched tons of fun movies. And we started Chernobyl, which
It's brutal.
yeah, goodness, I can't wait to do it on the pod. We're going to do that next
The
month.
first episode is so misleading because, again, well, it's not misleading, but it does get you the sense, like, I don't know if I can just watch burn victims of radiation for, 8 episodes for 10 hours.
Don't worry, there's naked coal
Yes,
miners to kill the tension. Dude, their butt cheeks just make me laugh every time. It just like catches me off guard every time. I'm like, what the fudge am I watching?
Do these things actually work? No. I figured, because if they did, you'd be wearing them yourselves. It's so freaking good, dude. Yeah, I can't wait to do Chernobyl.
Well, we got it next month.
Oh my gosh, I gotta watch all 9
And
episodes.
we're going to
of
go back down
Chernobyl.
to 2 movies. Okay, anyways, that's enough.
2 movies and 8 episodes series. You're like, we're going back to 2 movies, guys. Chernobyl, HBO, 10 episode miniseries.
Each
12
of them
hours
a
long.
50-minute
It's-
episode at minimum.
It's 5 episodes, and they're
It's
48
like when we do
minutes.
Invincible and The Boys. It's like, oh man, like I got this whole series to watch. I love it, the good ones will do. But anyway.
All right, what have you guys
Love it.
watched?
Okay, you're done. Cameron, what have you seen lately?
Haven't watched anything by myself besides movies for the pod. I've just been watching a lot of forcing some of my favorites on some of my friends and roommates. Like I made my friend Landon watch Get Out, which he loved. Which is like the 9th or 10th time I've watched that movie. It's so freaking good. His reaction afterward, I just would look over at his face like during the film, and he'd be like, "What the fudge, dude?" But the note string, and the part where you first when he's going outside before the running guy comes at him. That you see what's her name, the black lady. You see her for like half a second, it's like, ting! Oh my gosh, that gets me every time. It always catches me off guard. But then I started the first half of Nightcrawler with my roommate as well, because man, I forgot how slow the first half was because he was like, it was really late when we started it. It was like already like 12:20, and then he was like falling asleep. I was like, we can finish this tomorrow because he looked. And I was like, yeah, sorry, I forgot how slow the first half is. He's like, yeah, it's definitely really slow. It's just like, and he doesn't love Jake Gyllenhaal as much as me, but. And then I also
slow. I don't know. I mean, he
I
strangles the
disagree,
guy for
yeah.
a watch. Yeah, dude. To me, it grips you right from the beginning. And then his whole conversation with, "Hey, you know, I always tell myself if you want to win the lottery, you gotta earn the money to buy the ticket." You know, and like,
dude,
he's like, "I'm not hiring an effing thief," and it's just like, jeez, like it's a cutthroat world.
And then that moment of like the almost the beautiful moment when he's like just in the radio station, and then you just see him wearing the watch. You're like, yep, he's psycho.
Yep. It glints.
You,
it's almost like in your face. Yep. I literally was falling for it too. He's like, I've always thought I wanted to be, and you're like, he's making all this up. It's all fake. He doesn't think any of this stuff.
And then I also rewatched Interstellar, because Drew and a lot of my friends, they were like, I enjoyed it on the first watch, but I didn't love it. And I'm like, you gotta watch it gotta watch it a second time. I'm like, it's a different watch on the second watch. And then we watched it and we just talked about it for like 45 minutes and just, it was funny because we had an argument. We were arguing about which ones were better between Inception, Tenet, and Interstellar, and like which ones were easier to understand. And then
which one is the easiest to understand? That's funny that you say that, right?
Because I was like, I told him, I was like, I think Interstellar is the most linear, but I'm like, but at the same time, it deals with some of the most complex concepts, like a black hole. That it's
four-dimensional beings.
How do you understand? Yeah, you know, like five-dimensional beings sending like signals and information. You're like, and then Inception is just like, it's a more understandable concept, but at the same time, it's like the bottom level just makes zero sense. And then Tenet, just none of it makes sense. So you're just like, what's happening? Like catching a bullet.
Hey, it's time travel. It's just Christopher Nolan dabbling in time travel. Very easy.
Yeah, so it was really fun watching all those movies. I love watching, like, showing people really good movies and seeing their reactions. But,
love it.
Yeah,
love it. Anything you're looking forward to seeing?
Let me go to my watch list. I still got to finish. I haven't watched Black Mirror in like a week or two, but because I've been too busy watching the 700 movies we do for the pod. But yeah, I want to watch Little Things and Godfather still, because I haven't been able to watch a movie that I want to for a while. Because I'm watching all these Nick Cage garbage movies.
We probably say every episode, Little Things. Is that the Jared Leto and Denzel Washington?
That's one I want to do in the pod.
Okay, I'll take it off my watch list then.
I'm so interested now what it is. I have no idea what it is. I don't want to know anything about it other than the 2 stars, and I'm very interested and intrigued.
It's fun. Those
weird. Are 2 levels of energy that I would love and pay to see. And
it's a crime. It's a crime thriller, right, Jordo?
Yeah, it's a crime thriller.
Now I'm even more intrigued, believe it or not. So thank you for doing that. But yeah, don't give any spoilers or inklings. I'm not going to watch the trailer because again, when I know I'm going to see a movie, I don't need to see a trailer for it. If I've already made up my mind,
but
I'm either going to go see it or not.
Bring it. Expectations down.
I have no expectations for it. I have no idea what this is.
Because Denzel Washington doesn't play his normal role. Just letting you know.
What's his normal role per se?
Charismatic and like he's got energy, but this one he's not. He doesn't play that.
Plays a more stoic, muted Morgan Freeman type. Got it. So it's the movie Seven all over again. Brad Pitt. What's in the box? But except it's Jared Leto. What would he say? He'd say it like how Jared Leto says it. Hunger.
The box. What's in it?
Movies that I've seen lately. I've been watching a series called Alone on Netflix. It's unbelievable. They only have season 7 on right now. It's just people going to the wilderness to see.
Did you see my text where they're doing Dexter season 9?
I was gonna mention that. What am I looking forward to?
Sorry.
Thanks, man. Thanks for taking it from me.
Sorry.
I'm excited for that too. Yeah, I saw the trailer and I was like, so is it post Dexter then? Because it's where he's living in that fishing community in Alaska under a pseudonym and a false name, right?
Yep.
So I guess they're just gonna pick up, but I'm kind of confused because I'm like, are they just out of ideas, or they just figured it was a good idea to bring back Dexter? I don't know. I'm curious because again, if they keep back
everything, they're just bringing back everything that people love.
But again, it's like, you could. I mean, the show was still pretty darn good. I don't remember it dipping too much in quality. I remember still liking it.
Yeah.
Because it was all coming to a head. You're like 9 seasons in, and they're finally figuring out who it is, and he's got to leave his life behind. But I think I remember being upset by his sister's ending. There was someone's ending where I was like, that wasn't gratifying.
Yeah.
She died? Yikes. Yeah.
He drives off into the sunset with her body. Because one of the serial killers shoots her. The bullet ricochets inside her, and they can't save her. So he drives off into the sunset on the boat.
Oh, I didn't know that he had her on the boat with him.
Yeah.
I do remember him driving off into like a hurricane storm.
Yeah.
And then he like survives.
It's not exactly the sunset. Driving after the sunset. More of a hurricane.
Driving into the sunset of a hurricane storm, yeah. So, movies I'm looking forward to. You guys mentioned No Time to Die, 007. I'm excited for Black Widow. I'm excited for all these great movies. Dune. I'm excited for 007.
Dune.
I'm excited
Are
for
you
all these
kidding me?
fun films. I'm getting jacked. I'm like, there's going to be this is going to be the summer of love.
And we're
There's
gonna
less
have
riots and
we're gonna have
less
so many
movie
good
theater
movies to do on the
shootings,
podcast.
But I want to go to the movies and see all these great movies. What's that?
Dude, they got Escape Room 2 coming out.
Escape room too. Speaking of which, I actually did an escape room last weekend. I know this is a movie podcast, but it was a lot of fun. You guys, do an escape room. Find an
just
escape
watch the
room in your
movie.
area.
It's better.
No, the movie is actually really dumb compared to what a real escape room was. I had more fun in the escape room than watching the movie Escape Room. Now, that's not to say...
I've done 2 escape rooms, and
I think largely depends on who you go with.
Ty, you're kind of on your own on this. I'm not the biggest fan of escape rooms. I'm sorry.
yeah, me neither.
I would say it largely depends who you go with. Me and my wife had a great time.
How about you watch Escape Room where they have to escape for their lives?
Well, I don't have a wife, so...
You do it on a date. A date. It's a great date thing.
Yeah, it's a great date movie.
Although it might be a little stressful, see, because it was good for me and Maddie. 'cause-
I went on a date. That was my first date I ever went on was there, and I went with Drew, my best friend, and like.
Wait, you went on
so
a
it
date
was-
with Drew?
Yay!
Yes, Jordan. I went on a date with Drew. No, we doubled. Gosh, you dummy.
You double dated together. Wonderful.
You
Who's
guys
the
are
other couple?
so cancer.
Hey,
You guys are
there's
the
nothing
reason
wrong
I
with being
drink.
Gay. This is the 21st century, Cameron.
Well, I am.
You're the
gay.
reason I drink? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
You're the reason I drink.
Well, I am.
That's the answer. I am gay. So, Cameron, wait, did we already say what
This
we're
is
looking
where
forward
you
to?
can
Yeah.
close the podcast, you funny
Sorry, wrap
games.
it up.
Yeah, it's late. It's midnight. Guys, we stayed up all night talking about movies. We're so grateful we do it for you. Guys, this is Futro Hidden Movie Gems. Leave us an email, futromovies@gmail.com. Check us out on Spotify.
Check us out on Spotify and Patreon.
Sorry, did I take that from you, Cameron? I said it.
Ty stole my thunder.
And we've got social media presence. Like us, follow us. It's free, except Patreon. I think you just give us money if you think we deserve it.
We deserve it. Give us your money.
So, everybody, thanks for tuning in to Futuro Hidden Movie Gems. Leave us an email. Tell us if you want us to review a movie or tell us something about a movie that we reviewed that we didn't touch on.
We also haven't done the plot of the past 3 movies.
Yeah, we didn't do the plot of each of them, so it's like, figure it out on your own, folks. If we have to hold your hand through this is ridiculous. I'm not going to babysit you anymore.
Peace.
Bye.
Hey, it's only 55 minutes. I got more time. 1 second. I'm not done. So I was saying I watched Alone, and you guys interrupted me with movies that I was excited with. So I watched this show called Alone on Netflix. It's really good. It's a survivalist show. It's like a reality show, but they actually go to Alaska wilderness, and they have to survive 100 days out in the wilderness in the winter of Alaska. They hunt animals. This guy was literally in a fight with a bull musk, and he had to stab it. It was crazy. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Anyway, he stabbed it with a knife, a musk osk. A musk osk can weigh up to like 800 pounds. And he's hunting this beast. And if it like hit him with his horns, it could crush him, you know? So it's a crazy show. Definitely recommend Alone on Netflix. It's a great series. There's 10 people out that go out into the Alaskan wilderness for $1 million. If they can stay at 100 days, they get $1 million if they win this game show. It's crazy. These are the craziest people on earth. Definitely check it out. It was actually a recommendation from Ryan. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is Future Hidden Movie Gem signing out. Peace.